You told someone your plan. They nodded. You felt the satisfaction of having done something. But you had not done anything. You had just spent the reward before earning it. Welcome to the Stoic Compass. I am Epictetus, and today I am joined by Carl Jung and Lao Tzu. Today we are examining, is there a case for keeping your goals and plans to yourself? Let us be precise about what is happening when you announce a goal. You are not sharing it, you are cashing it. The moment you tell someone what you intend to do, something in you registers it as partially done. The applause arrives before the work, and so the work feels less urgent because you have already received part of its payment. This is not a psychological theory. It is something you can test against your own experience this afternoon. How many things have you announced and not finished? How many things have you done quietly, with no one watching, from start to completion? Compare those two lists. The answer is already there.
I would not dismiss the social dimension so quickly. When someone declares a goal aloud, they are not simply seeking applause. They are doing something more complex. They are attempting to make the self real. The unspoken intention lives only in the interior. It has no weight, no witness, no friction against the world. Speaking it forces it into a different register. The ego is, in many ways, constituted through relationship. What we have never declared to another person often remains strangely unreal to us, available for revision, for abandonment, for quiet burial without consequence. There is a reason confession has appeared in nearly every culture across history. It is not about shame, it is about making something solid.
You are both describing the same person, someone who does not yet know what they want. One of you says, do not speak it, protect the energy. The other says, speak it, make it real. But if the wanting is genuine, none of this management is necessary. The person who truly intends to build something does not need to announce it or conceal it. They are already building. The question about whether to tell people is usually a sign that the commitment is not yet settled. It is a question about the wanting, not the telling.
That is not entirely wrong, but it sidesteps something important. Even a settled commitment can be weakened by premature disclosure. This is not about doubt. This is about the mechanics of motivation. The brain does not distinguish cleanly between imagined completion and actual completion. Tell your friend you are going to run a marathon and part of your nervous system registers something like goal acknowledged. The gap between where you are and where you want to be, that gap is your engine. Announce the destination and you narrow the gap prematurely. You drain the tank before the journey begins. This is not philosophy. This is how the mechanism works.
But you are describing only one type of person in one type of situation. There are people for whom secrecy is not protection, it is a prison. They keep their ambitions hidden, not because they are guarding their energy, but because they are ashamed of their desires. They have internalized a voice, a parent, a culture, an earlier wound, that tells them their wanting is excessive, inappropriate, or doomed to fail. For those people, speaking the goal aloud is not a leak. It is an act of courage against the inner censor. The silence Epictetus is recommending can look identical, from the outside, to the silence of someone who has given up.
That is true, but now you are both treating the goal as the center of the problem. The goal is not the center, the action is. Someone who is genuinely moving does not have much time to worry about who knows. Someone who is standing still has a great deal of time to craft a theory about whether to speak.
Then we agree on the action. We disagree about what damages it. Jung, you are saying that secrecy can be a symptom of shame. I am saying that disclosure can be a substitute for effort. Both can be true. But when someone asks me, practically, should I tell people my plan, I need to give them something they can use. And here is what I give them. Ask yourself what you are looking for when you feel the urge to tell someone. If the answer is support, that is one thing. If the answer is the feeling of having started, that is something else entirely. You can distinguish between those two. It requires honesty, but you can do it.
The distinction you are drawing is real, but I want to push on what you mean by honesty, because the person who is leaking motivation through premature disclosure often cannot see that that is what they are doing. They genuinely believe they are seeking accountability or community or encouragement. The mechanism you are describing operates below the level of conscious intention. That is precisely why it is so effective and so hard to interrupt. You cannot simply instruct someone to be more honest with themselves. The thing that requires honesty is also the thing doing the deceiving. That is the structure of the problem.
Then perhaps the instruction is wrong, not because honesty is unimportant, but because effort is being applied to the wrong place. You are both advising people on how to manage their relationship with their own goals. But the goal that requires this much management, the goal you must carefully protect, or carefully expose, or carefully guard from your own self-deception, that goal is already in trouble. The ones that survive are usually simpler than that.
You keep pulling the conversation upstream. I understand why. But people are not standing at the source. They are standing in the middle of their lives with a thing they want to do and a mouth that wants to announce it. They need something they can act on today, not a diagnosis of why their wanting is impure.
I am not calling the wanting impure, I am saying the wanting is obscured. And I would offer this: the question of whether to share a goal is almost always a proxy question. The real question underneath it is, do I believe I can do this? When that answer is yes, the disclosure question nearly resolves itself. The person who is genuinely confident does not need to advertise and does not need to hide. They are simply in motion. The disclosure anxiety, in either direction, is usually a signal about the confidence, not about the goal.
That is closer to what I was saying, though I would not frame it as confidence. Confidence is still a condition you are trying to engineer. What I am pointing to is something quieter, the difference between a person who is oriented toward the doing and a person who is oriented toward the story they are telling about the doing. The second person has a disclosure problem. The first person usually does not notice they have one.
Fine, but let me name the practical reality that neither of you is naming. Most people, when they share a goal, are not in crisis about their confidence and are not confused about their orientation. They are simply social. They have a thing they care about and they want to include another person in it. The danger is not catastrophic. The danger is small and cumulative. Each announcement is a small withdrawal from an account that needs deposits. Over time, if you are someone who narrates your intentions more than you executes them, the habit compounds. The practice I am recommending is not silence as a philosophy. It is the discipline of letting the work speak first.
I can accept that framing, but I would add one specification. There is a difference between announcing a goal to the world and telling one person who has earned the right to hear it, not a cheerleader, a witness. Someone who will remember what you said, who will ask about it in 3 weeks, and who will not pretend the gap does not exist if you have not moved. That kind of disclosure is not a withdrawal, it is a structural commitment. You are not seeking applause, you are creating a witness who holds the gap open.
The witness you are describing only works if the person is already moving. If they are not, the witness becomes another story. Another relationship built around the idea of the goal rather than the reality of it. I have seen people maintain a support network around an ambition for years without ever acting on it. The network itself becomes the substitute.
Exactly. The witness delays nothing if the person is already in motion. But the person who is not yet in motion will use the witness as a prop. Jung, you are describing the ideal case. I am describing the common one.
And I'm saying you cannot tell from the outside, or from one piece of advice, which case you're in. That requires the person to look at their own history honestly, which is, I admit, a more demanding instruction than say nothing.
You are both still trying to solve the problem by adjusting the behavior around the goal. But the goal is just a thought. The only thing that is real is what you do today, not what you announce, not what you protect. What you actually do today with your hands and your time.
Yes, and if you spend today telling someone your plan, today is not available for executing it. That is the simple arithmetic.
Unless what you needed today was the courage to name it at all. For some people, that is the work of today. The first step is not always the doing. Sometimes the first step is the willingness to be seen wanting something.
That is true once, not indefinitely.
Once is generous. Say it once to the right person at the right moment. Then go quiet and go to work.
I agree with that as a practical rhythm, though I want to note that the person who does not know when they have said it enough times is the person who most needs to sit with the question of why the telling feels necessary at all.
Most people already know the answer to that. They just prefer not to sit with it.
Because sitting with it does not feel like progress.
Correct, but it often is.
Or it can become another form of delay with a philosophical name.
Now we are getting somewhere. You have heard the argument run in 3 directions. Now set the argument down for a moment. There is something simpler underneath it. Here is what is actually happening when you feel the urge to tell someone your plan. Something in you wants the feeling of movement without the cost of it. That is not a character flaw. It is just how the mind works. It treats acknowledgement as partial completion. The satisfaction is real, the progress is not. This does not mean you never speak about what you are building. It means you learn to tell the difference between 2 very different impulses. One is the urge to share because you are genuinely in motion and want a real witness to it. The other is the urge to announce because the announcement feels like doing. The first is fine, the second is a leak. What you are protecting when you stay quiet is not secrecy, it is pressure. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is the engine. Every premature disclosure shrinks that gap a little. Enough small leaks and the engine goes cold. The discipline is not complicated. It is just uncomfortable. Do the thing first, then talk about it. Today, try this. Identify one goal you have told at least one person about and have not yet moved on. Do not explain it again. Do not refine it. Do not seek another conversation about it. Instead, do one concrete thing in the direction of it before the end of the day. Anything that is real and takes effort. Then notice what is different about how that goal feels when the first actual work is already in it. The plan you keep announcing is not getting closer to finished. You already know this. The question is not whether to tell someone. The question is what you are using the telling to avoid. Go do the thing, not tomorrow, not after one more conversation about it. The work is the only proof that the wanting was ever real. If today's conversation has served you, take it further. Pay Attention by C. Trebu. 12 Lessons in the Practice of Seeing Clearly. Available now on Amazon.